This story is by Canadian Limes. Thank you for sharing. Okay, anyways. Story time about my two super toxic friends. Okay, so at the time I was in 4th grade and had just changed to a new school and I didn't know anybody. Then I saw these two girls and I decided to go over to them and ask them to play. They said, sure. Then we talked for a bit, then shortly after the bell rang and we went inside. They ended up being in the same class as me and I thought it was amazing because then I wouldn't be alone. I noticed that one of the girls was sporty and dramatic while the other was pretty much a spoiled brat. I still wanted to be friends with them even with their personalities. Then a couple days later one of the girls, let's call her Liz, and the other girl Addie. So basically Addie was mad at Liz for some stupid reason. Those two ended up getting into a fight 24/7. Then I got dragged into this drama too. I ended up upset at Addie. They figured that they were gonna team up against me afterwards. They started picking on me and saying rude things to me. I came home crying every day. After the first 3 days of me coming home crying, my parents told me to not hang out with them anymore because they were rude. I continued to hang out with them because I was not very smart back then and had never had many friends. This went on for a year. I stopped talking to them after that. Now Addie messages me asking to be my friend again, saying that she's my BFF, and yeah.
After moving to a new city, I met this guy on Tinder. Our relationship was progressing really fast, and after a few weeks of dating, I found out I was pregnant. We went to the hospital where they confirmed I was pregnant, but very early on. My boyfriend was furious. He said he didn't sign up for this, and he knew people who could quote-unquote get rid of it. I told him I'm going through with this, with or without him. I didn't speak to him for a couple days when he reached out saying he wants to be part of his child's life. He moved in immediately so that we could start saving money. The morning after he moved in, he made breakfast for me. I was extremely nauseous and not in the mood to eat anything. He started yelling at me and saying it's for the baby, I can't be selfish. Less than 24 hours later, I was bleeding uncontrollably. He told me it was nothing and I shouldn't seek help. When the bleeding didn't stop, I went to the hospital where they told me I was no longer pregnant. I had no suspicion he had anything to do with it, so we stayed together. Weeks later, I finally kicked him out because of the abuse he was giving me and my dogs. I found out I was pregnant and I told my OB the situation, and that's when she told me I most likely didn't miscarry but was given something to dispel my pregnancy. My daughter is now 2, but still live in fear of seeing him in public.
Our parents took us to this really fancy restaurant for my birthday and I was so excited. Anyways, as we were looking through the menu to order something, my mom gasps like she's seeing a ghost. What? Mommy dear, are you alright? She whispered, look at the price, OMG. I see my mom whisper something to my brother and sister and gives my brother a ring. Man, I was confused as a fucking rock, but I didn't think anything of it. So she sees the waiter and says go. I'm literally sitting with a frown on my face, and then my brother gets on his knees and proposed to my sister while everyone was staring at us like we're aliens from Area 51. And to make matters worse, she said yeah, I'm literally staring at them. Processing all this shit, the manager came and congratulated us and told us we didn't have to pay for anything, which meant we got free food. My family started cheering like, shut up. He calls me to his office and said we can only get free food if I have an affair with him. I didn't want to disappoint my family, but I didn't mind because he was hot. So we started making out and things escalated to us having the dirty, and he was so good at it. So after that I went to my family and had a normal dinner. We were finished getting ready to leave and then the manager hands me a piece of paper with his number on it. So I was about to go off on my family for literally approving my brother and sister's engagement, but my mom said it was just for free food. What? I was speechless, but you know what they say, work harder not smarter.
Story time about how I walked in on my fiancé and another man. So a little background information. My fiancé and I have been together for 4 years, and we started dating our junior year of high school. Well, we all went to Florida after we finally got engaged, and he invited his best friend and I invited my best friend. And I always got vibes that he was like really touchy with his best friend and just like other guys. But I was definitely not one of those people who was about to tell my boyfriend how to act. During Truth or Dare or something, someone would dare him to kiss like a guy and he would just do it. And I didn't really get any off vibes from that because I just did not think that way. So like I said, we all invited our friends to Florida. Well, I think like the 3rd night that we got there, we all decided to go to the club. And we were having a super good time. Like everybody was just doing their own thing. I was with my girls, we were hanging out, taking shots. My boyfriend and his best friend, they were doing body shots off of each other. But my boyfriend said that he had drank too much, so his best friend took him back to the hotel room. Part 2 about how I found my boyfriend and his best friend hooking up. So like I said, my boyfriend's best friend took him back to the hotel room. And I really wanted to spend time with him because we were only supposed to be there for like 3 days. So I decided I would go back to the hotel room early to go see him and make sure that he was okay. Well, I get to the hotel room and all the lights are off. It's very quiet and I think that everybody's sleeping. So I take my shoes off and I go to our room and nobody's in there. So I go to his best friend's room, and when I open the door, I see him and his best friend laying on the bed naked, making out. I literally stood there in shock for like 2 minutes and they just like did not hear me, did not look over, did not see me or anything. Eventually, I literally was like, what the? And they both look over and my boyfriend is literally, it's like he saw a ghost. So I leave the room, he gets dressed, he comes over to me and he starts talking to me. Part 3 about me finding my boyfriend and his best friend hooking up. So like I said, after I catch my boyfriend and his best friend naked together in bed making out, he takes me into the living room to have a talk. And I thought he was just gonna say, oh, I'm drunk, it didn't mean anything. Nope, complete 360, total opposite, not at all what I thought. He was like, listen, like, you know, I've been meaning to tell you this for a while, I just didn't know how to tell you. My parents are super religious. If I ever told them that I was gay, they would never accept me, they would cut me off, everything. And his parents were super rich. So I kind of understood, but I was pissed the fuck off, like, you wasted so much time in my life just to tell me you were gay. So he was like, we can still have the wedding and everything like that. You know, I understand if you don't want to be with me. So we kind of made a deal that, you know, if I stay with him, I can pretty much have access to all his family's money. I can buy the house that we were going to buy. So currently, while he is hooking up with other men, I have a boyfriend, but we just act like we're together.
Valentine's Day story. So I was in 4th or 5th grade, and at the time, Uvu video chat was a huge thing. It was exactly like House Party. So there was a boy in my class, and I had a huge crush on him, and I would ask him every single day after school if he could Uvu me. One day he had some type of after-school sport, so he couldn't Uvu me until later in the day. And that one day being the day before Valentine's Day. In elementary school, we would decorate these tissue boxes, and then we would bring candy to school and put it in each other's tissue boxes. So I asked him what he was bringing to hand out, and if he had anything special for someone that he liked. He said no. My mom had bought me these ring pops to hand out to all my classmates, and then she had these big fun dip things at home for me. So I decided I wanted to be special and surprise him with a fun dip. So it was probably 7 or 8 o'clock, and my mom told me I had to go to bed. But I was always that person that wouldn't hang up until the other person hung up, even if I said bye first. So we say bye, but I stay on the screen. He started jerking off.
Story time about how I dated 2 brothers at the same time, and they both knew it. So I'm a personal trainer, and last year these 2 brothers came into my gym and wanted personal training. Well, I signed them up and they started training with me. They both constantly flirted with me, but I knew that they both had girlfriends. So I would usually train them at the same time, but they decided to train separately. This is when things got a little tricky. So one of the brothers, I'll call him James. James was always flirting with me, and he made it very clear that he liked me. Every time he would flirt with me, I'd be like, hey, don't you have a girlfriend? And he'd say, yeah, but you know, we're kind of breaking up soon. I never took him seriously though. And the second brother, let's call him John. John also flirted a tiny bit, but he was a little bit more shy than James. Lo and behold, James comes into the gym one day and says that he broke up with his girlfriend, and he started crying, and I felt really bad for him, and we talked for a bit, and then we trained, and then afterward he asked me if I wanted to get a coffee. I said sure. Went to get a coffee, and we basically talked about his relationship. At the end of the coffee date, he actually kissed me. Part 2 of how I dated 2 brothers at the same time, and they both knew it. So James told me that he broke up with his girlfriend, and we ended up going for a coffee, and he actually kissed me. Because I was his personal trainer, I thought of him as a client. So basically, I didn't think it would go anywhere. On my next session with John, his brother, John says, hey, James said that you guys went on a little date. And I said, it wasn't a date. He said, well, when am I going to take you on a date? I said, I thought you had a girlfriend. He said, no, we actually just broke up over the weekend. So I said, sure, we can have lunch. It doesn't have to be a date. And he said, sure, that's fine. So we ended up going for lunch, and he was way more shy than his brother James. And this actually made me like him. We basically had a 3-hour-long lunch. We talked about every single thing you can imagine. We got along super well, and I love that he wasn't trying to flirt with me the whole time like his brother. Then COVID hit and my gym closed, so I couldn't train anyone. Well, this didn't stop them from wanting to hang out with me separately. I basically started going out with each of them separately, and they both knew it. So one day I'm at the beach with John, and his ex comes up to us and throws a beer at him. Part 3 of how I dated 2 brothers at the same time, and they both knew it. I was at the beach with John, one of the brothers, and his ex came up to us and threw a beer at him. And she said, wow, you're doing it again. I was confused. I had no idea what she was talking about. So John says, James and I need to talk to you. He drove me to his place where James was waiting for us. And they basically told me that they were both dating me at the same time and that they didn't mind, and they just basically wanted me to be their shared girlfriend. I was totally confused, bewildered, and I just didn't even know how to respond. And I asked him what his ex-girlfriend meant by, you're doing it again. And he explained that she was also their shared girlfriend and that she wanted to be with them again. It was so messed up. So I didn't speak to them for a few days because I was really confused, but then James talked to me and he said, look, if you're not comfortable with this, we won't do it, but let's just try it out. Just be our shared girlfriend, you'll see, you'll love it. So I became their girlfriend, and we dated for 3 months. Showered me with gifts, paid for everything, and of course I had so much attention. One day I would hang out with one, and then the following day I'd hang out with the other one. Part 4 of how I dated two brothers at the same time and they both knew it. So they basically asked me to be their shared girlfriend. I said yes because I liked them. And they were actually really good boyfriends. So we dated for 3 months. And then their ex shared girlfriend, so yeah, they had a girlfriend before me who they shared. She sent me a DM on Instagram and she was like, hey look, I need to tell you something. She warned me that they were looking for a new girlfriend and that they would break up with me. I didn't believe her. Instead I went to James and John and I said, look, is this true? And they said yes. He told me they only dated girls for 3 months, no more. And that basically our time was up. I was shocked. I felt so used. And stupidly enough, I had fallen in love with them, I know. After that, they didn't talk to me at all. Then I found out that they both had a new girlfriend and they were both sharing her. Like me. So I started an Instagram group with all of their ex-girlfriends. And we told their new girlfriend, and she broke up with them. But guess what? John asked me to be his girlfriend again through text. We've been texting for like a week now.
This is a story time of why I dropped out of high school on my first day. And when I say my first day, I mean my first day of freshman year. After this, I never went back. So like I said, it was the first day of freshman year and I have extreme anxiety. My anxiety is literally so bad. I literally get anxiety just by waking up in the morning. So I was super anxious for my first day of high school. I literally was running around the school. I could not find my classes. I walked into the wrong classroom several times. It was so embarrassing. But then I finally made it to my first class. I sat down in the front of the classroom. Bad idea. After running around the school and not being able to find my classes and walking into different classes that I wasn't supposed to be in, which was so embarrassing, my stomach was literally in my ass. My stomach was literally bubbling because of my anxiety. I felt so much pressure in my stomach I needed to let some out. And I thought I could get away with it, a little silent fart. It was silent, but it was not a fart. I shit my pants. Then the teacher says we're gonna go around the classroom and everyone has to stand up and say one thing about ourselves. Starting with me since I was sitting at the front. Now this is what happened. This is part 2 of why I dropped out of high school my first day of freshman year. So like I said, I just shit myself in class. The teacher says we have to go around the room and everyone has to stand up and say something about themselves. And of course, I had to be sitting in the front of the classroom and I had to go first. So I just told her I didn't feel comfortable standing up and I'd rather sit down. But she said that I had to stand up and everybody has to stand up. So I clearly did not have many options and I decided that I was gonna stand up. And so I stood up and everybody gasped, even the teacher. The teacher literally made everybody get out of the classroom. And I knew from there on out, I could not show my face in that school anymore. I knew all day everyone was going to talk about that one kid themselves in class. Yeah, the teacher took everyone out of the class and then I got myself cleaned up. Went to the office, told them what happened. They called my mom. They let me go home. I cried to my mom and told her I could not show my face at that school anymore. And so she pulled me out of high school and I just did online until I graduated.
This girl who used to bully the shit out of me DM'd me on Instagram. We are going to call her Emma. Emma DMs me and she's like, hey, we should meet up at Starbucks. I want to catch up. I want to tell you stuff. And my dumb ass was like, okay, let's do it. But the day comes when we're meeting up. So obviously I took an Uber there. I was gonna be a little late, so I called Emma and I was like, hey, my Uber's taking long. Can you please get my drink so we can talk more and I'll pay you back? And so she said she would, so it was cool. I get to Starbucks. So me and Emma are drinking our drink and then I start feeling very sick to the point where I was fainting and throwing up really bad. So I went to the bathroom and this lady followed me into the bathroom and told me that the girl that I was with, Emma, put a pill in my drink and I was gonna go confront Emma about it. And by the time I went back, she had ran away. So I ended up calling an Uber to go home because I was not feeling well at all. Like I was dying. The Uber comes and guess who is in the Uber? Emma! She locks the doors immediately. So I get in the Uber and I did not see Emma at first, but then she popped up right after I put my seatbelt and we went on the road. Emma then locked all the doors, broke my phone. I couldn't really do anything because at this point I was really weak from what she had put in my drink and started spraying me with pepper spray, which hurt really bad. At this point, I'm basically weak. I'm like fainting every second and I have pepper spray everywhere. I don't have my phone. And Emma starts laughing at me. This is the best pop. So she ends up dropping me off at an alley in the middle of nowhere that was like 2 hours from my house. I found this out because someone ended up driving by the alley and they asked me if I needed help and then they helped me and I contacted my parents and the police. Obviously the police got Emma, but I am not allowed to say more about Emma other than this story. But yeah, don't meet up with your bullies, or at least the crazy ones.